At some stage in the next few years, the EU will need to agree on treaty change to make the changes needed for the long-term future of the euro, and to entrench the diverse, competitive, democratically accountable Europe that we seek. Now, I believe the best way to do this will be in a new treaty. So today I add my voice to those who are already calling for this. Now, my strong preference is to enact these changes for the entire European Union, not just for Britain. But if there is no appetite for a new treaty for us, and if there is no appetite for a new treaty for us, or for us all, then of course Britain would be ready to address the changes we need in a negotiation with our European partners. So the next Conservative manifesto in 2015 will ask for a mandate from the British people for a Conservative government to negotiate a new settlement with our European partners in the next Parliament. It will be a relationship with the single market at its heart. And when we have negotiated that new settlement, we will give the British people a referendum with a very simple in or out choice: to stay in the European Union on these new terms or to come out altogether. It will be an in-out referendum.
You have to recognise that the Union is a strange animal. A strange animal. Some member states are not obliged to participate in Union policies, where other countries are invited and allowed to outside the Union to participate in our policies. Schengen, for example. Switzerland makes part of Schengen, but Britain, part of the Union, is not part of Schengen. So how you can explain that to citizens? A Europe à la carte, where you pick and choose. Well, I can tell you a renegotiation by the UK and by another country, by any other country, can only make this worse. And moreover, I think that a European Union à la carte, as now Mr. Cameron shall tell us on Friday, can only kill the single market. If you can pick and choose, what shall be left of the single market? If the French, for example, saying, oh, we like industrial policy, we don't like the competition rules. Or the Germans are saying, oh, we like the single market in goods, but not the single market in services. What shall be left of the single market? Let's be honest, and let Mr. Cameron be honest about it. A renegotiation, as he wants, means in fact either a Brexit or the end of the single market and in fact the end of the European Union.
Frustrated as some of them no doubt are by Britain's attitude, work with us on this. Consider the extraordinary steps which the Eurozone members are taking to keep the euro together, steps which a year ago would have seemed impossible. It does not seem to me that the steps which would be needed to make Britain and others more comfortable in our relationship with the European Union are inherently so outlandish or so unreasonable. And just as I believe that Britain should want to remain in the EU, so the European Union should want us to stay.
Do you think that a significant renegotiation of a member state's deal with the EU is actually a realistic possibility?
Well, perhaps I could start with the second part of your question, if I may. No. I don't think that there is a realistic possibility here to renegotiate the EU treaties. What we're experiencing, and what we have been experiencing for about 2 years now, is the following. Take, by example, Chancellor Merkel. She's insisting that we deepen the Eurozone and calling for a more integrated form of Euro governance. And that's the reason why she mandated Mr. Van Rompuy with the task of setting up a Van Rompuy group. Now, there are proposals from Mr. Van Rompuy. At the end of the day, I mean, we had also blueprint proposals from the Commission concerning changes to the treaty. But I can tell you that in Council there's no majority in favour of that, because everybody knows that if there is a change to the treaties, then one way or another you have to embark on a lengthy ratification process. You know, maybe that's not what they need. They need short-term solutions or immediate solutions for unemployment issues and similar issues. And then Secondly, I would say that there are several countries, I mean, I have here beside me the Prime Minister of one of those countries where, in addition to the ratification procedure, you'd have to have a referendum procedure in some of these countries, and that too would be very time-consuming. And therefore, in answer to the question as to whether or not we should renegotiate the treaties, is that a realistic prospect as things stand right now, I would say no. So that was my response. As for the advice that I might give to David Cameron, my advice, I suppose, would be not to call for a renegotiation of the terms of the treaties, because it doesn't make sense, and I don't think there's a majority to support that either. Now, we all know that if he goes ahead with that motion, we know why he would be doing that. To be perfectly honest, the speech given by Mr Cameron is not a speech to Europe. It's actually addressed to the House of Commons. It's addressed to the Tory party. And it's a speech within which Mr Cameron will try to deal with the issues that he has to deal with at the moment, given his current situation. We talk about the magician who wants to learn, but there are those who are still learning, in the process of learning, and I think that, in a way, there are forces that are making it very difficult for Mr Cameron. I think a word of advice to Mr Cameron would be that whatever he has elicited, he needs to somehow deal with now, because he's not going to find peace within the Tory family, and he certainly shouldn't find a solution that will be damaging to Europe.
The Tory party promising to claw back powers from Brussels and then have that endorsed by a referendum. That's bad news for you, isn't it?
We've heard it all before, haven't we? Don't forget, this was the man that promised a cast-iron guarantee that if he was Prime Minister, we get a referendum on our relationship with Europe. We hear that they're going to claw back powers, when in fact their own Conservative MEPs, week after week, vote for more powers to be transferred to Brussels. And frankly, all he's done here is to give some sort of vague promise that there might be a referendum in the future, but that it will not be about our membership of the European Union. If he thinks by doing that he's shot UKIP's fox and he's buried this issue in the long grass, he's in for another think.
But we don't know what the shape of Europe is going to be as you look forward. Doesn't it make sense, rather than having an in-out referendum now, let's see what the Eurozone is going to look like, let's see what our relationship should be with that Eurozone. We know we won't be part of it, then have a referendum. What's wrong with that?
Well, there are many of us that aren't happy where we are now. We're now stuck inside a single market. 75% of the laws that are made in our country are made because we're part of that. We're forbidden from making our own trade deals across the rest of the world. And we have to pay a membership fee of £50 million a day. So I'm perfectly happy for us to have a referendum now to say, look, should we be part of political union, or do we want a simple free trade agreement?